visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTA. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
What is happening? Your eyes are red. You are armed with a machete and a gun.
See, I am angry and I can't even contain it. See.
Oh, my guy, calm down. Calm down.
See, Oga. I have planned to go and destroy these people's businesses in the city. I have to retaliate for what they've done at our own place. They cannot eat their cake and have it now, never.
If you destroy their business here, and they destroy that of those close to you over there, especially that your brother who sends you steady cash, how would you survive? Would your dreams be on hold?
See, what you're saying is correct. But I'm still angry.
The best way is to embrace peace. With peace and unity,
my people, let us embrace peace and unity. Let's learn to live as brothers.
Of the governorship and state houses of assembly polls across the country. The state's centered elections were initially scheduled for March 11, but the fallout of the federal elections set back reconfiguration of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS devices, prompting a one-week delay. Now, amid hopes of a hit-free exercise, Nigerians finally trooped out to various polling units to cast their ballot for their candidates of choice. And according to INEC, a total of 87.2 million people eligible to vote, having collected their permanent voter cards. Of the 36 states governorship polls holding in 28, 11 governors are seeking re-election, while 17 outgoing governors are in the final weeks of their constitutional two-term limit of 8 years. 8 of the 36 states, Anambra, Bayelsa, Edo, Ekiti, Imo, Kogi, Osun, and Ondo, have governorship elections off-season due to litigations and court judgments. Meanwhile, as for the assemblies, all the 36 states are the home basis of 10,323 candidates competing for 993 state houses of assembly seats. How did INEC fare in the second leg of the 2023 general elections? And what is the feedback from electorate as they exercise their franchise today? That's our focus on Weekend File tonight. I'm Yen Ray John, and my guest is Nick Zazang, former Director, Voter Education and Publicity, INEC. Thank you for joining us. But first, the news. It's election day for the governorship and state houses assembly polls, and the nation is in waiting mode for the results. Mie Ogidi gives us a feel of how the process went.
420 governorship candidates gunning for the top job in 28 states. 10,323 state assembly candidates eyeing 993 seats. Campaign and lobbying over. Fit now in the ballot box, waiting to either be boxed in or boxed out, while the candidates probably in prayer and anticipation mood, sorting and counting on.
28, 29, 30.
Oh, it was very peaceful. There's no higgledy-piggledy, no catastrophe. Everybody is calculated. You can see them all enjoying themselves.
However, flashes of atrocities committed. INEC ad hoc staff shot in Bakassi local government area of Cross River State.
The bullet did not touch the spinal cord. I'm very happy about that.
While political thugs arrested in Anambra State. Like a man on remedial move, INEC commended for measures taken to surpass the February 25 presidential and National Assembly outing.
I've seen everything is going on smoothly and peacefully, and let us keep peace, and let us accept the result if we deem it free and fair.
While the nation awaits the outcome of the exercise, all eyes on the INEC result viewing portal. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari says, contrary to insinuations in some quarters, his administration has substantially delivered on its promise of enhancing the nation's democratic enterprise by ensuring free, fair and transparent electoral process. The president stated this in Daura, Katsina State, after exercising his civic duty in the governorship and state assembly elections. State House correspondent Adam Musambo brings us details.
Still basking in the euphoria of his party's victory in the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections, President Muhammadu Buhari returns to Sarkin Yara ward in Daura to vote in the governorship and state assembly elections. The president, accompanied by some members of the First family, moves straight to Kofar Baru, Unit 003, where he cross-checked his name on the displayed register of voters. His PVC number 187 was then verified and biometrics authenticated by the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS. President Buhari thereafter received his ballot papers and secretly voted for candidates of his choice, under the watchful eyes of party agents, law enforcement officials, and observers. The president then spoke to newsmen on his assessment of the process.
Locally at my own place is very encouraging. And I have been watching the television program. I am pleased with the reactions in most constituencies.
You are still excited over your party's victory in the last election. What are your expectations from this governorship election?
Well, I do not expect anything less because we have gone through the constitutional perspectives. We told Nigeria what we are going to do. So I think Nigerians eventually trusted us.
So you are hopeful that your party will win again?
Hopeful? I'm sure my party will win. What do you want?
So, sir, you have voted for the last time as president of Nigeria.
Yes.
What will Nigerians expect from you as party gift? What are you assuring them before leaving office?
Well, we are telling them that we mean what we say what we mean. We tell Nigerians that we are going to work for them, we are going to maintain trust, we will not allow anybody knowingly to steal their resources. We will make sure that we encourage them to send their children to school, we encourage them to have healthcare facilities, and we did our best, and I think Nigerians appreciated it.
President Muhammadu Buhari may have voted for the last time in any election as commander-in-chief, but whether or not his level of popularity, acceptability, respectability, and even adoration amongst his people will ever decrease in vigor, only time will tell. From Daura, Katsina State, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Similarly, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and wife Dolapo were among hundreds of people that trooped out early today to exercise their voting rights in Ikene Remo local government area of Ogun State. State House correspondent Jide Onifado was in Ikene, hometown of the Vice President, to monitor the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections. His report.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and wife Dolapo, few minutes after 10 a.m., arrived at polling unit 14, Ward 1 at Ikene Remo, Ogun State. They both went through the required voting process. There are 113 eligible voters on the list at this polling unit, and voting commenced at exactly 8:30 in the morning without hitches. And the Vice President, after casting his vote, says he's impressed.
from here, at my own polling booth here, it's excellent. I think everything is peaceful, and the whole process has been conducted very well. And I just hope and pray that this is how this is being carried on across the nation. But it's been a very pleasant experience, and I'm glad that I was able to cast my vote, and also that so many of us who want to cast our votes today have been able to cast our votes. Thank you. Thank you.
INEC Commissioner in Ogun State, Niyi Jalaye, who is monitoring the ongoing election in the state, was also at the polling unit, and his visit coincided with the time Vice President Osinbajo was there to exercise his franchise.
And I've been all around the state. I've been to Obafemi Owode, I've been to Ifo and Adodo-Ota, and all the local government along that axis that I got here. And it has been a wonderful experience. All the polling booths opened at 8:30. As expected, that was a strategy, and it has worked perfectly well. And voting has commenced in all, or in fact in most of our polling units.
What about the turnout? What about the turnout?
The turnout, because it was, I moved out very early in the morning, and people are trooping into the polling units. But as I progressed further, the turnout has been impressive.
Yes, we have our men monitoring. We have patrol teams going around the local government everywhere, all over the senatorial district, that's East Senatorial District. So in Iberu, in Ijebu-Ode, in Ogbere, we have a lot of our patrolmen patrolling, making sure that there's peace and calm. So for here in Ikenne, it's quite peaceful.
The Vice President arrived here in Ikenne since yesterday, and he appealed to people when he came that they should come out en masse to cast their votes, and that is exactly what people are doing. You can see the turnout here is very impressive. I'm Jide Onifade.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room has observed an improvement in the time of opening of polls and deployment of materials in the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. However, voter turnout appears to be low in many places. Timothy Yusuf reports that the observations formed part of the Situation Room's interim report.
Except for the Federal Capital Territory where election is not holding.
This is the second report of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room on the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. Situation Room is concerned outside early commencement of polls by reports that in some communities in Lagos State, there are traditional festivals coinciding with the election day, which could discourage voter turnout and increase tensions. It also observed the presence of security personnel in 82% of polling units observed across the country.
We also observed security presence intervening to quell some of the tension in the polling units and commend this intervention while advocating for vigilance and action against incidents of vote buying.
Yaga Africa at its National Data Center in a similar interim report noted early commencement of polls, but however pointed out few reported incidents of voters' intimidation and suppression in some parts of the country.
INEC should take urgent remedial actions in polling units where cases of infractions and non-compliance with the 2022 Electoral Act and INEC guidelines have been reported. This will deepen the legitimacy of the final outcome of the elections.
The Election Observer Group also deployed its parallel votes tabulation methodology to 3 states, Benue, Delta and Lagos. The outcome of its findings will be after INEC's declaration of results. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Despite voter apathy observed in many polling units in New Cairo, Nasarawa State, the chief observer of the European Union Election Observation Mission, Barry Andrew, says there are improvements in the election process. The head of the mission made this comment after observing the governorship and state assembly elections in the area. Joseph Otsen feeds us.
On board is Chief Observer of the European Union Election Observation Mission and his team on the move to polling units in New Cairo, Nasarawa State. The areas visited tell peaceful and well-organized exercise, but voter apathy seemed to mar the process.
From what we recorded the initial time, presidential election, voters were already here waiting for us to start. But in this particular election, governorship and House of Assembly, we were already waiting for voters to come.
Well, I saw people voting and going home early. I said, let me come and vote.
You see, the turnout very poor. You see how people are scanty. It's not like the presidential election.
The persons with disabilities, INEC talked about having some materials for them to enhance their voting. I hope you have some of them here.
We do not have any of such materials here, and we have not observed any PWD so far since we have worked here. Even in the presidential election, there was none. But I believe that if such cases rises, provision will be made for it.
Nevertheless, the mission is taking positives. An improved distribution of election materials, early commencement of the process, and effective use of election tools culminating into a peaceful process.
We have more than 60 observers across Nigeria this morning and this afternoon looking at the polling units. My observations are that we've seen polling units open on time in the places where I visited. However, we can see that there is an appetite for democracy in Nigeria.
The EU Elections Observation Mission says it will be considering reports from all its observers across the country before presenting the final report and recommendations in 2 to 3 months' time. Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Also, the Albino Foundation Africa wants INEC to investigate inadequate deployment of assistive tools to polling units to support persons with disabilities exercise their franchise during the governorship and state assembly elections. The foundation made this request during the presentation of its midday situation report. Again, Joseph Otsen has more.
On board is the TAF Africa Election Hub, keeping in touch with its 340 election observers across the country. From its midday report, the foundation says it has observed 94% access to polling units and priority voting at 76% for persons with disabilities. The foundation is, however, not impressed with the level of deployment of assistive devices.
From the observed polling unit, 75% had no Braille ballot guides for the visual impaired. 7% had no magnifying glasses for the persons with albinism, and 63% had no large font graphic posters for the deaf. It is necessary to mention that TAF Africa's initial findings are based on reports from 228 sampled polling units.
For the foundation, critical examination of shortages of election materials, few cases of violence is needed for improved participation of PWDs. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
And still on the elections, the Center for Democracy and Development Election Analysis Center says the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, recorded significant improvement in the state elections compared to what was observed during the presidential and National Assembly elections. Now, this is part of the Center's preliminary preview report of the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. Dennis Temple reports.
Nigeria's 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections were reported to have fallen short of citizens' expectations. Preliminary report of observer groups highlighted failures of logistics, challenges with voter registration, and communication gap on the part of INEC. Building on these thematic areas identified during the presidential elections, the Center for Democracy and Development, through its Election Analysis Center, says there is noticeable difference in terms of addressing institutional lapse.
Things are still unfolding, but we think so far INEC has done much better than the last time. How much of that will now satisfy the electorate will be for us all to decide at the end of the day, but so far so good.
In terms of the turnout, it seems to have actually varied like we have projected in our report, that it varied according to state, and it also has got geopolitical dimension to it, as well as reasons. So in places where they are just having state houses of assembly elections, so it's not heated, you have a general lower turnout with Ondo as an example, whereas where the incumbent is actually on the ballot, there is a relatively higher turnout.
The center is also recommending that issue of disinformation, particularly online, must be checked for a healthy democracy in the country. In Abuja, Dennis Temple, NTA News.
And away from election matters now, Gambaru Market, second largest center of commerce in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, has been engulfed by fire, which destroyed property worth millions of naira. Although no life was lost, firefighters and volunteers spent hours to control the strange election day fire. Zainab Adam reports.
It was indeed a black Saturday for traders of Gambaru Market when the fire incident in the afternoon burnt Pat's cosmopolitan economic hub, destroying an unspecified number of shops and stalls. The strange fire in the midst of election and market closed for the exercise sent a large cloud of smoke seen miles away. This is coming almost 3 weeks after the massive fire that completely destroyed the Maiduguri Monday market. Eyewitness account reveals that the source of the fire remained unknown as the area was deserted and called for assistance to victims of the unfortunate disaster.
Allah ne kaddara ya tashi an ga wuta yana ci ana so a kashe ya fi karfin mutane sai aka kira fire brigade ya zo ya kawo zuwa kashe wuta.
Emergency service providers from different fire services, NEMA and state counterpart, SEMA, supported by volunteers, were able to control the inferno. Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Azlim paid a visit to the scene of the fire, which provided accommodation to some of the victims of the previous Monday market fire.
Let me also commend the security agencies, the army, the police, the chairman of the Metropolitan as well as the chairman of the Traders Union for the support that they have rendered to us.
Assessing the situation, Borno State Commissioner of Police Abdu Umar appealed to traders to remain calm, saying the police will investigate the cause of the fire incident.
We are here with all the security forces and for the fire service. This time around we are having a massive supply of water by the fire service. I believe the fire is going to be controlled.
The police commissioner also confirmed that the same incident had also occurred in Town, Timber Market, in southern Borno earlier in the day, while voting was on but was quenched in a timely response. In Maiduguri, Zainab Adam, NTA News.
This is Weekend File, live on the network service of the NTA. Time for a break. Please stay. Thank you for staying. Lagos residents went to the polls to elect a governor who will pilot the affairs of the state for the next 4 years, including those who will represent them at the local government levels. Our correspondent who monitored the exercise in the metropolis reports that there was improvement in the general conduct of the election in the state.
There was mixed reactions as voters came out to exercise their right to vote in the Lagos state gubernatorial and state assembly elections. In some areas, the turnout was low, and in others, it was huge. Voters in places like Itiosa constituency, Lagos Island, the mainland, and Ikorodu thronged polling units to cast their ballot. Although conduct of the exercise in most parts of the state was described as calm and peaceful, there were pockets of violence in a few areas.
This campus community, you get. And here in this community, we are well coordinated.
In Lagos Island, it has been very, very peaceful because I've been able to move around from each polling unit to at least observe a little bit, and it has been seamless.
Our area is cool and calm, and then the voting is going peacefully.
A noticeable feature in the election is the functionality of the Beavers technology compared to the presidential election. In most of the polling stations visited, the device worked effectively to ensure capturing was done and results uploaded.
Up to now, there is no complaint of Beavers in Lagos Island local government, showing the Beavers is working perfectly. And when we are talking about arrival, here, where you are in interview, the ANEC, they are on ground, exactly 15 to 8.
The Beavers is working perfectly today.
Everybody came in and voted very easier and the left.
16 candidates ran for the governorship seat in Lagos, while 394 candidates contested for 40 seats in the State House of Assembly. As Lagosians wait for winners to emerge, residents have been urged to be calm and law-abiding. In Lagos, Ruth Ario Samuel, NTA News.
And from the Center of Excellence, we head to the Center of Commerce, where voters, as in other 27 states of the Federation, where the governorship and state assembly elections were held, returned to the polls early today to exercise their civic duties. Aminu Umar reports that political, education and enthusiasm came to play, especially in the city, as electorate turned out in good time.
Polling Unit 033, situated at Balarabe Haladu Islamic Academy, is one of the 11,222 polling units in Kano. In this unit, both the INEC ad hoc staff and the security personnel were at their duty post in good time. People have to present their permanent voter cards before being allowed into the premises, and that made it orderly and seamless. In another location, a large turnout was recorded with high population of youth and women. 80-year-old Hajia Hanasu is among the women that turned out early to cast their ballot. Although disappointed by the beavers, the elderly woman, all the same, left the area fulfilled, as her prayer was for responsible leaders to emerge. Same was the case with this first-time voter.
It's my prayer that enemies of peace may not succeed.
And I remain optimistic that if such happens in the nearest future, our dear nation will become, will move to an escalatory level.
Despite the apprehension that greeted the election, it was generally conducted peacefully, except for some little disruptions in few polling units, which the police intervened promptly.
We were passing by when we just had a noise that something is happening. We came around and our people swiftly now rounded the place up, cordoned them up and picked 3 out of the running people that are suspected to be behind the commission. So the voting will continue as planned, and enough security have been provided to guard against future occurrence.
The situation has, however, returned to normal. In Kano, Amin Umar, NTA News.
Many thanks, Aminu. I have joining me now in the studio, Nick Dazang, former Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's begin. What's your assessment of the election today compared to February 25th, when the presidential and National Assembly elections actually held?
Well, my assessment is that today's elections are a massive improvement on the ones that took place on Saturday, February 25th, 2023. In terms of logistics, INEC staff opened the setup and opened the polling units in good time. I think not less than 90% of the polling units across the country opened at 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. This morning. In addition to that, the bimodal voter accreditation system device worked seamlessly, as we have seen across the country. Whether in the cities or in the rural areas, we have seen that the instances where we had glitches were very, very few. In fact, of all the high-profile persons that were accredited today, only one person had challenges with accreditation, and that is the Secretary to the Federal Government, Boss Mustafa. So to that extent, INEC has delivered on one of the major pillars of the election, which is the deployment of the beavers. And as we speak, and from information available to me, the upload of the polling unit results are taking place seamlessly. In fact, I will score INEC from the information available to me as is doing excellently well, because more than 70% of the results at the polling units have so far been uploaded. And as we speak, collation is taking place at the various local government collation centers, which means that by the small hours of this morning, we should be able to have returns met, particularly on the State House of Assembly elections at the various constituencies, and perhaps before the end of tomorrow, we should also be able to know some of the governors or some of the candidates that have emerged as governors-elect. So to that extent, I think that INEC has used the 1-week window to perfect and hone its processes.
To do a better job, right?
To do a fantastic job, not just a better job. And at the end of the day, what is key, what is crucial is that the commission would have redeemed its image. Yes, there were, reports of skirmishes.
That's my next question.
Yes,
to you, because for every process, there must be certain challenges and negatives.
But if you look at the risk mapping and the areas where violence or disruptions were anticipated in the conduct of the elections, the disruptions are far in between. Yes, there were disruptions, but they were very few to the extent that they did not affect the credibility of the elections as they were conducted today. And even though there were also reports of low voter turnout in certain jurisdictions, it is too early to tell as to whether this is a reflection of voter apathy, because we will know finally how things have panned out when all the results have turned in, and we now have the measure of the total number of votes cast, the total number of accredited voters. It is then that we have a clearer picture as to whether fewer people turned out for the conduct of these elections or not. But I think that what seems to have played out is that people tended to lay more premium, more importance on the presidential and national assembly elections, in spite of
well, beautiful, Nick. I think I'll hold you, as regards that particular opinion. But let's talk about people living with disabilities. I'm sure you watched the report earlier,
yes,
coming from TAF Africa, talking about the fact that people with disabilities were not adequately taken care of.
Yes.
So what would you say is responsible for that?
Well, I think if you look at what happened in the past conduct of off-cycle governorship elections from Edo to Ondo to Ekiti and Oshun, these assistive devices, magnifying glasses, braille and so on, were provided in sufficient quantities with a view to making sure that all persons involved in the process are included. But this has not worked out optimally in this election, and that may have to do with the fact that INEC may have focused on how to address other issues to the exclusion of this vital sector. But going forward, this is what INEC should address so that no one is left out of the process. People living with disabilities constitute a sizable chunk of voters. In fact, I think they are not less than 20 million. And so if you leave them out, it means you are driving to the margins a large proportion of voters. So this is something going forward that the Commission has to address.
All right. So of course, we'll look at other issues, that cropped up as a result of this election today. But let's quickly take a break now. When we come back, the conversation continues. Please stay. Welcome back. The low turnout of voters for the governorship and state houses of assembly election in Enugu, analysts say is not connected to insecurity in the region. Blessing Ayamu brings us the assessment of the exercise and performance of INEC.
Speculation of voter apathy in Enugu, southeast Nigeria came to play in some parts of the state as against 25th February polls where voters turned out in mass to cast their ballot.
In terms of voter turnout, I would say that it is not as impressive as it was during the presidential and National Assembly elections 2 weeks ago. I do not know what the reason or reasons are why it is that way. However, I must commend INEC for what I've seen at my own polling booth today, because they came early and voters who happen to have come are voting freely.
There is joy in the air. There is peace. There's no trouble.
3 weeks ago, we had a mammoth cry, or mammoth cries everywhere, because I had gone to 3 places to see what they were doing there. So I noticed that it was not the same. And the enthusiasm of the youth 3 weeks ago was a kind of unsurpassable.
On the part of the INEC's performances compared to the last election, that is characterized by late arrival of election materials, among other things, observers have this to say.
We hope that the beavers will be working today, because you've even seen threats from a lot of people saying that if so and so happens, staff of INEC will not go, this and that. These things are not necessary, but it also goes to show how the people feel regarding the performance of INEC.
3 weeks ago, by around 10, they were there. But this time around, by after 8 to 9, they were there. So I think the most important thing is now for INEC to redeem its reputation. As it is now, the reputation of INEC is at stake.
They are, however, of the opinion that INEC should put their acts together this time, ensure beavers does not malfunction, and results uploaded in good time. In Enugu, Blessing Ayang, NTA News.
Similarly, the governorship and House of Assembly elections in Rivers State was relatively peaceful. Emmanuel Lerner reports that residents attribute it to proactiveness of security agencies in stemming the tide of violence during the elections.
Previous elections in Rivers State have been characterized by some forms of violence such as assassination, disruption of electoral process, ballot box snatching, among other violent acts. However, the governorship and House of Assembly elections is said to be relatively peaceful before and during the elections because of what many attribute to the proactiveness of the police and other sister security agencies.
This period that we have between the last election and now have been utilized to cross our T's and dot our I's in preparing for this election.
I'm most assured there will be a peaceful election with Rivers State.
Reports across polling units from parts of the state indicate the presence of security personnel, while the military were at designated spots to foil any breakdown of law and order.
It has been going on well. People are voting, and you can see everywhere is peaceful despite the large turnout.
People are being beaten, harassed, and prevented from voting for any party of their choice.
Although there were pockets of violence in some parts of the state, there was an improvement in the security apparatus during the governorship and House of Assembly elections when compared to previous elections in the state. In Port Harcourt, Emmanuel Lene, NTA News.
Many thanks, Emmanuel. We still have with us Nick Dazang, the former Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC. All right, so while we spoke earlier, Nick, you did make mention about the voter apathy, and from all the reports that we've seen so far, of course, that has been mentioned. Although, yes, we have to wait for, the final results to be out as regards those who voted and all of that. But, I mean, from the pictures that we can see, it's obvious that people actually didn't turn out that much. Yes, you said, well, presidential election, more important and all of that. But this is grassroots election where, those in local governments or wards would actually feel the impact of government. So you expect that they should participate more. Don't you think that the poor performance of INEC in the February 25th election could also be responsible for this factor?
Yeah, certainly a lot of voters were disappointed with INEC's outing in the conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections, for which reason some of them deliberately refused to turn up today to vote. But for us to get a sense of why this voter apathy was noted, we also need to interrogate what really happened, because a lot of pundits, a lot of experts have also observed that there has been systematic decline in terms of voter turnout since 1999. And this can be correlated with the inability or the failure of the political class to deliver good governance to the people. That is one consideration. And talking about the governorship and state House of Assembly elections, I think that we need to explain, to educate Nigerians about the cruciality, about the importance of these elections, given the fact that they are the closest to our people in the grassroots, and given the fact that in terms of number, in terms of quantum, there are more seats that are up for grabs in the conduct of the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. Whereas in the elections that took place 3 weeks ago, we are dealing with 470 seats, 1 presidential, 109 senatorial, 360 House of Representatives, making 470. In this instance, we are dealing with 28 governorship seats. We are dealing with 993 State House of Assembly seats, giving us a total of 1,201 seats. But what is important for us to note is that these positions are the closest to the people, and they have they have meaning and resonance with people in terms of the delivery of infrastructure such as roads, hospitals, schools, and so on. So they have the potential, you know, of changing the fortunes of our people in these areas. And given how pivotal, you know, these positions are, we need to do a lot of work to educate Nigerians as to their importance, and for them not to take these positions for granted, and to also ensure that they don't only just turn out to vote, but that they vote credible persons who will deliver good governance to them. And we have seen in a number of states across the country that some of the governors have acquitted themselves well, to the extent that they have done a number of projects that touch the lives of people positively. So that is the way to go. And it is only when, you know, there is something in it for our people, it is only when their lives are changed for the good. And
when they feel the dividends of democracy,
yes,
of course,
it is then that
they'll be willing to participate.
They'll be willing to continue to
Nick, I agree with you, you know, but because of time, we cannot, you know, continue with this conversation. But just a way to round off quickly, what will be your advice going forward? Because we've seen so many factors spring up in this election, the ethnic factor, religion, you know, the security issue and all of that. What will be your advice so that we can actually have, you know, elections where people are willing and eager to participate?
These elections, apart from their being keen at the Presidential, National Assembly and the governorship level, they threw up a lot of other negatives, such as the recourse to primordial and identity issues of religion and ethnicity. But going forward, these are things that we must eschew. We must play above these primordial or pristine considerations. We must go for credibility, for people who, you know, will deliver good governance. And going forward, we need to go back to the drawing board. INEC needs to go back and look at these elections that they have conducted. They should look at how they can improve, you know, on the delivery of better elections and the seamless deployment of technology to deliver credible elections.
All right, many thanks, Nick. I think we'll leave it at that point. Many thanks for joining us on Weekend File tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right. The former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, has been speaking on the election and the need for INEC to improve on the electoral process. Let's now see that.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was at the Abuja Ward polling unit in Yola, Adamawa State, to exercise his franchise in the governorship and House of Assembly elections. He went through the accreditation process successfully before casting his vote.
So far, from their performance 3 weeks ago, from what you see now, still below expectations. Let's hope they will improve on their past performance.
Similarly, the Special Assistant to the President on Domestic Affairs, Sarki Abba, who also cast his vote in Yola, described the process as commendable.
You can see that people come and cast their votes and leave. Some of the agents, I can see they are sitting, there is cooperation between them. And information that I got also around before I got here that really the election is very, very peaceful, and INEC has to be commended because the voting materials were on time, and all the places the voting started in good time.
In Yola, Rayanu Bala, NTA News.
Similarly, the Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talon, has expressed satisfaction with the turnouts of women and youths during the governorship and House of Assembly elections. She was speaking after voting in her polling unit in Shandam, Plateau State. Undayang Adayabagyang reports.
The governorship and State House of Assembly elections were peacefully conducted in the state. Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talon, exercised her franchise in Shandam, her hometown, where she applauded women and youth for coming out en masse to vote for candidates of their choice.
The turnout today is not too good, but I'm happy in the outskirts of the town. More people have come out. Shandam local government is a very peaceful local government. You can see how people are so calm and peaceful, and I believe that even when the results are out, there will be no any violence. People know what they want, and the choice of the people can.
Dame Pauline Talon appealed to elected leaders to empower women and youth in Jos, Indanyan, and the Abuja. NTA News.
Let's take another quick break. Please stay. Let's now take a quick peep at the weather outlook for tomorrow.
Monday's weather forecast. Indices shows good prospect of morning thunderstorms over the coastal belts of the country. That is parts of Lagos, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Cross River states. Other parts of the country are expected to have patches of clouds with sunny skies over the northern region during the morning hours. By afternoon and evening hours, there are better prospects of thunderstorms over the southern region of the country. Chances are also there over the central parts of the country. That includes the Federal Capital Territory, Kwara, Benue, Kogi, with slim prospects over the southern parts of Taraba states. Up next is the Air Quality Index. I'm Theodorite. Thank you for watching.
Well, thanks, Theodora, for the heads up as regards the weather prospect for Sunday. And that concludes Weekend File tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember that the Verdict 2023 studio live on the network service of the NTA is still open, and Musbao Dan Wahab is standing by to give you all the details from 10 p.m. till when all the results will be released. All right, stay tuned to the NTA. I'm Ian Ray John. Have a good night.